honoured to be able to welcome you all this afternoon, and especially those who are joining us online as well. We're in Downing College in Cambridge on a lovely sunny day with the promise of spring to come. A very nice thing for those of us who are here in person as well, I'm sure we'll all agree, being together again for an academic event. So the Axon Johnson Centre for the Study of Classical Architecture has been set up in October of last year for, as the title says, the study of classical architecture as an academic discipline, but also for to encourage the process of design with classical architecture, something that's less taught now perhaps than would have been the case in the past, and for which there is a decided need going into the future. And one of our missions is to collaborate with fraternal institutions to mount symposia and conferences such as the present one that we have today, for which we're delighted to be partnering with the Karolinska Institutet of Stockholm for this event. And I was very, very pleased when that idea was brought to us by our colleagues in Axon Johnson that we might collaborate for our first event with the Karolinska, both because of your Swedish base, of course, but also because of the subject that we're looking at today in our conference on architecture and spaces of healing. Many of us will be, I'm sure, unfortunately familiar with hospitals. Certainly in Cambridge, we have for the last 20 years or so become increasingly familiar as we enter the city on the railway from London with the enormous, what's now called the biomedical campus that is built up around Addenbrooke's Hospital, our great hospital here in Cambridge. And for those of us who've had the misfortune to have to visit it, either for ourselves or for friends, it is an extraordinary place of technology, which gives us the confidence that the medical treatment that we all require and need so much is going to be efficient. But it's also quite a dystopic environment of roundabouts and signs pointing to alarmingly named buildings and faceless buildings that seem anything but inculcated to develop in us a sense of well-being as we go about our physical medical needs. And that's really what's brought our institutes together for this event this afternoon. The sense that whilst the technology of medical care, of pharmacology and so forth has moved dramatically and beneficially for all of us ahead in the late 20th century, the architectural environments, the buildings, the surroundings, the landscaping, the displays of things inside hospitals, the signposting, all of this has become, I think, alarming to many people and off-putting. And it need not be so. And the fact that this is the case was recognized in this country by the decision in 2021 of the Wolfson Foundation to have their prize, in fact, for an architectural competition for the design of what the hospital of future might be like. And that's partly inspired us to hold this event on the side of the Axon Johnson Centre for the Study of Classical Architecture today. In a moment, we're going to be hearing from our colleague, Dr. Kerstin Prisma, from the Karolinska Institute. But before I hand over to her, I'm going to hand over to the Assistant Director here in Cambridge, Elizabeth Deans, who's going to make a few housekeeping announcements, especially for the benefit of those of you who are joining us online. So thank you very much for being here, and we hope you enjoy the day and will benefit greatly from it. We're incredibly grateful to all the speakers who have come, and including those who were not able to travel, unfortunately, who have sent recorded talks in. We'll be hearing from them later in the programme. But now my colleague will just talk to you about the housekeeping for a moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank, and thank you to everyone who has traveled here to be with us in the room. I think I just want to echo what Frank said about the importance of classical architecture, especially in the space that we're in today, that architecture ultimately is meant to bring people together. And for many of us, I know I've mentioned heard from many of the people in the room that this is your first in-person conference in some time, and it is our first in-person and hybrid conference here at the center, so we're thrilled to have, the room is full, and we also have people from all over Europe and the United States today with us online, so welcome. We can channel them here through this wonderful piece of machinery at the front of the room. We will also be offering some interaction online during our chaired sessions. So if those of you online have questions, feel free to drop them in our chat box, and we will do our very best to try and accommodate those questions. We also have several speakers who have recorded their talks ahead of time from the United States. We have a speaker today who's at another conference as well and took the time to record his talk for us. And we will be calling them in and interacting with them, we hope, on screen. So thank you for your patience ahead of time with trying to handle Zoom at this size of a conference. Final notes, thank you to all of our speakers who flew in over the past few days from Sweden, and the Axel Johnson team, and those speakers, of course, who flew in from elsewhere, including the States. So welcome and thank you. And now I will pass on to Dr. Kerstin Prisma of the Karolinska Institutet.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here at this conference in such an inspiring setting. It was initiated by the president of Axel Johnson Foundation for Public Benefit. And he also, and the foundation also sponsor something at KEA called Lifestyle for Health platform for research, for students, and for doing studies on prevention of disease and treatment, of course. So we know that environmental factors are really important for health. It's not only diet and exercise, but also the environment, the architecture. At the Karolinska, we are lacking this type of research. So we really need to do more research on the benefit of architecture, especially classic architecture, which is also so beautiful for our health. So I hope this event will be the start of new collaboration within this field and a new start of research at Karolinska Institutet. Thank you.